Our work in the face of adversity is to do what we have always done. We connect, we continue to build, and we continue to push, and we continue to fight. I mean, just because they have the supermajority today doesn't mean that will last always. Just because they have the majority of Congress today doesn't mean they're going to have the majority always. So what happens when we win? Will we be ready? And so there's a long-term play and there's a short-term play. Long-term, it is the interconnectedness of building this movement that is beautiful, that looks a lot like this room. Right? People from Tennessee and California connected to create and to build movements for justice. That is part of what we have to do in the long term. In the short term, there's work as well. Because the banning of books, if we take that for example, is not just happening at the state level, and we saw 2 or 3 of those bills. It's at county levels, at school board meetings. How many school board meetings y'all been to? We got to go to city council meetings. We got to go to county commission meetings. And we got to show up at state houses. And we got to reach out to folks in Congress. See, what I believe has happened, unfortunately, is there has been an intentional effort to repress our power. It made it more difficult to vote for young people, made it more difficult for black folk and poor folk to engage civically. Now you got to go to meetings at 8:30 in the morning to be able to speak on certain things. Right, so there's been this political deprivation that we have been experiencing. And in that deprivation, there has been what they have assumed to be complicity with harm happening to our communities. They assumed that because we did send those emails, because we did make those phone calls, that we agreed. And so things have been happening in our names. People have been incarcerated in our names. Schools have been shut down and privatized and given over to these huge charter organizations and private schools in our names. Polluters and corporations have built their businesses next to our children's child care facilities with tax breaks with our money in our names. Housing has been denied to poor folk because certain communities said they didn't want apartment complexes in their neighborhoods and got that ordinance passed in our names. So what do we do with white supremacists who care more about NRAs than the people in the communities that they serve? One, we got to elect better people. So for those who are progressively minded, please vote. For folks like Representative Jones and Johnson and Waters, do that, and that's really important. But I have to tell you and implore you that don't just vote. Don't need you to only vote, because that's not enough. Because we are 1, 2, 3, we vote people up here, 3 elected, right? That ain't enough to change the whole world. But this room, if it all showed up at a meeting tomorrow with the mayor, something might change. Because the perspective changes about who cares. And so please vote and encourage other people to vote. Let's expand the voting pool. But then we have to build our civic muscle. People who are engaged politically are the ones who are talking to those in power to create change. The Mothers Demand Action was coming up to the State House, even though it was a supermajority Republican legislature. Never knowing a moment might come where we'd be able to pass bills like a red flag law or gun storage safety law. Never knew that would come, but they were already present. For us, it is to be politically and actively engaged in our civic community more than just voting. Because if we only vote and assume that people get to Sacramento and do what you think they're doing, or assume people get to D.C., or assume people get to city council meetings and do what you hope they are doing, they will end up making decisions that they get paid to make, one way or another. And so we have to build our civic muscle to show up on more than just election day, because that holds them accountable for the results that we need in our communities. We got way too many streets that need paved, children that need jobs, prisons that need to be torn down, to build up public housing. We got way too many problems. And we be in power. So hold people accountable by being proximate and staying engaged beyond voting. That's one of the biggest things that I would encourage to this room of people who I see are civically and actively engaged.
You talked about children dying at school. How can parents and anybody feel safe sending these kids to school when they may never come home again? Tell us what we could be doing legislatively. They don't support us in Washington, D.C. in dealing with gun violence. I don't know what they're doing in your legislature, but this is your platform. Tell us what's going on.